Howdy, people, Bart here, and welcome. Yeah, not sure if everybody saw my earlier video, or two videos from earlier this morning, but yeah, brought a little controversy into life. We'll see how that one goes. Anyway, today is Friday, and it's Feature Friday. What feature are we going to do? No clue. Yes, poorly prepared for today's stream. I had about half a dozen things that I wanted to do, and I really hadn't locked down on any one particular one. So, to start off with, we can start with a blank project, or for those who do have my simple multiplayer Steam template, I'm going to start off with it to create a blank new project. And I was looking to see if I had maybe something else that I could work with, but we'll do this. I'm just going to clone it. Going to give it a new name. Feature Friday. And I'm going to keep this project, he says. And we shall see. I'll try to keep this one so that every Friday we come back in to work on a feature. If by some chance we complete it and it works, then we'll just move on to the next project for the next Friday. Otherwise, we can always come back and revisit one that we didn't finish from that particular one. So, create, continue, and wait for it to pop up. Quick note on Stream Party, still tweaking around on some of the finer features before I move on to anything else. Can showcase what it looks like, but there's not a whole lot of progress on it. Alright, now that it is complete and has made, find where it is, Feature Friday, and right click, show in folder, and we want to delete the saved folder, and that's that. We can close that down. Now we can actually go into the project. So, what is Feature Friday? Feature Friday can be any number of things, from I go into a video game and we look at a feature inside that game and then come back out and try to replicate that into Unreal Engine 4. Or can just be a feature in general, like how can I make my character jump, or whatever. And we'll do it in single player aspect, and if time permits we'll try to make it replicate for multiplayer. Another thing is, just got a notification, just shortly ago, for kinematic soup. And if you're not familiar with what that is, besides sounding rather delicious, kinematic soup is a very, very powerful tool that will allow developers that are working on the same project to actually be editing in real time. In the same, they're going to be doing maps later for Unreal Engine 4, so that will be coming. But like working on blueprints and everything else, as I'm working on this project, I could have 3 other people in here working on this project together, more in the future, but we could actually be working simultaneously in the same project. And like if you create a new folder, I can see that new folder get created, and then I can actually go back in and review it and say, okay, that looks good. Here, let me tweak this really quickly. I'll show you what I'm doing, and then you can see what's going on. And it just, my mind is blown from the amount of stuff that can go on in there. So let's go ahead and create a new map. We're going to use a default this time, and we're going to go ahead and delete that. I'm going to do my usual here, and I'm going to grab these guys, and I'm just going to throw them underground, just because I'm weird. And we're going to delete that floor because it's not what we want. And I'm going to go to Geometry, Box, I'm going to drop it in here, change my game mode to third person, then go here, and I'm going to zero this out, 0, 0, and -5. Then we're going to change the X, Y, and Z here to 2000, 2010. That's going to put our floor on the floor. And we'll go ahead and rename our box brush to floor. We're going to create a new folder in the root here called Map Shitola. We'll grab all these things here and we're going to dump them in the map shit folder. We take our player, because we need a player start, but we're going to shove it all the way over here, and we're going to go ahead and save all and save selected. Go to our maps folder, and we're going to call this our build map. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to editor preferences, because for God knows why, this won't remember any of my settings no matter how I set as default or whatever else. We're going to asset editor open location to main window, and we're going to go to loading and saving and enable autosave. Then close that, and we are all good to go. So if we hit play, we have a map, we can walk around on it, and this is what we'll use for actually building on. We'll also end up probably doing another map called test map, but this will give us the map that we need to get started with actually creating our feature or function or what have you. Now, I don't normally do this because I don't like the extra file size, but I'm going to go ahead and add new feature content pack and go to content pack and starter content, because I'm going to mess with some BSP geometries in creating things like an elevator, or you can create your own fences or buildings or what have you with BSP geometries. And by having the starter content, it's going to give me a few things that I can add into my map, like materials and so forth. So once you see them pop up down here, you can go ahead and close this window, and now we're all set. So this is what I use for my temporary projects and working on them. And yes, I will be getting back to more of the Cindy Studio stuff really soon. So we have a series of props, chairs, couch. So we're doing our sit-down function. That's going to be important for later down the line. Lighting, you can create them in blueprints. Do it that way if you wish. Some little stairs, shelves, door frame, window glass, stuff like that. So you have stuff that you can work with to populate your map with something to make it a good proof of concept that doesn't look completely bare. Shapes, I don't really use them, but I'm sure they could come in handy if you're just throwing some basic geometries out you want. These are all static meshes. So textures, materials, and these are decent materials to work with. Of course, I'm not going to put any materials on my floor because I use that grid as a ruler system, because as you know, this big gigantic square here is 100 by 100, and the little smaller squares inside here, each of these are 10 by 10. So when you're trying to set something out and build some symmetry, or know that you're trying to get a certain size, you can look at those and get an idea of what they are. A little trick on doing your BSP geometries, whenever you're creating them and you drop them into your map, they're not going to have a texture on them or a material on them. But if you select the material and then drag it in there, there you go. I just selected glass, and now if I go in here and look, I have a giant glass cube. What the hell are you going to do with a giant glass cube? Well, you can do a lot of stuff with it. If I grab this box brush and, well, I'm going to delete it this time, grab a cylinder, and this is kind of what I envisioned for an elevator, for like the interior of a building or something, a nice posh interior. First off, I'm going to zero it out and 0, 0 this way. I'm not going to change the Z value of it because it's already sitting on the ground. We're going to be moving that around anyway, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to increase the sides from 8 to 24 so it looks more circular. And let's change the outer radius to 100. See how big that looks. Not bad for a single person, but let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's make our cylinder 150. That's better. Cosmetically, I think that's going to be too big, but functionality-wise, it's close. Let's try it at 120, and we're going to leave it right there. But I'm also going to select it as hollow. Invalid inner radius, no problem. Inner radius, we're going to change that to 100. And see, that's a little bit too much. So let's bring it up to 118. Now we're going to get trapped in it, but oh no, I'm trapped. But that's going to be pretty appropriate for setting up a piece of glass. So it doesn't really look like an elevator because it doesn't do anything, but we want to add some cosmetics to it, and the height of 200, gonna leave it at that for right now. We're going to do some other things to it. So you've got your basic right here. We know that we did 24 for our sides. So I'm actually going to grab chrome and another cylinder brush. And I'm going to go ahead and make that 24 sides. And we're going to put it back in our 0, 0 location. However, I'm going to change the Z height to 20. Now with our original, we had it set to our outer radius at 120. So we also want to make this hollow. And we want to change the inner radius to 120. That should bring it right to the sides here. And let's change the outer radius to 122. It's going to give us a nice little band there. And we can actually lower that down so we can get that on the ground. Alright. We need a floor for our elevator, so I'm going to grab another cylinder brush in. We want that one to be... You know what? Let's just use a wood floor. So we have a nice pretty wood floor. Can drag another one in. Do the same thing here. 24. The inside radius that we used here was 118. So our outer radius needs to be 118. Our Z height needs to be 10. Let's actually make it 5. And 0 up our location. Now it's in the ground a little bit, so we need to raise it up. So that's the floor. Now there's one thing I do notice. As you can see on the inside, you can see through this outer band here. So to fix that issue, let's go to our inner radius and we'll do 120.1. And we're going to have to make some adjustments to it. 121. There we go. Bring it up just a little bit larger. That way it's not touching. Because if it is touching, then you're not going to be able to see the material on it. Don't know why it does that, but it does it. So there we go. Excuse me. Alright, so that's that. And I like that bottom ring. So let's grab it and start giving it a name. Glass wall. This is our floor. Elevator contour floor. Cylinder brush. That one is now our outer band. And I'm going to Control C and Control V and bring that up to the top. So, that's the basics of it. There, get in here. Alright. So, as we can see, our character fits in here. Change to first person view. And that outer band needs to come up just a hair. You can see a little bit of glass there. So I'm going to change the Z to 201. I don't know, 200 was fine, I guess. So we need some form of roof for it. We don't have a door yet. And we'll get to that in just a minute. Tonight's drink of choice, coffee. Now, another thing, if you want to be classy, instead of the wood flooring, you can actually do like polished marble. You've got all kind of different flooring we can use. I'm just going to leave it for wood right now. So we need a door to get in and out, and we need a roof to cap the top of it. And we could also do something on the bottom of it as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a cone. And we used chrome for the side bands. Let's be a little bit different, and let's use gold. Grab that, throw it in here, change the number of sides to match, 24, and our outer radius, it needs to be the same as the outer radius of these bands. So the outer radius of the band is 122. So, outer radius, 122. And let's go ahead and put this in place. Yes, it looks horrible right now. We're going to fix that. Don't worry. Change the height. Let's bring that height down. So the Z height, let's change that to 50. And let's take a look at it. You could have increased the number of sides from 24 to 56 or whatever else. Just depends on how pretty and shiny you want it to be. Still no way to get in there. And I'm still not convinced of the height. Should probably make it a little bit taller for everything. But we could do that now. Glass wall, instead of 200, let's make it 250. And let's raise that up there. We need our top outer band, and our top piece is now going to have to move up. And then let's grab everything else, move it up. Now this cone brush, it's going to need to go up along with that outer band too. So I'm going to change my snapping to 5. There we go. And I'm going to Control C and Control V, make a copy of this, and I'm going to invert it 180 and now move this down so it becomes the bottom. That lower outer band needs to go down. So now we've got the basic portion of our elevator, and now we're not able to get in there just yet, but we could add some vertical sidewalls to it, things of that nature. In fact, that's what I'm going to do now, and I'll show you why I'm going to do that. Is I want to create the door system for it. And how would you create a door that goes onto a round elevator. Doesn't seem likely enough. Let's grab our chrome again and grab a box brush. Drag that in here. Now, width-wise, what is the width of each of these side panels? And 24, I should have north, south, east, and west. I should have a flat on the correct sides. So let's measure this. Let's try it at 20 wide, which is going to be our Y. Actually, let's try it at 30. We can change it once we get it up there as well. So 30 looks good for now. We'll change the size once we get it up there. We need to move it up. And it's kind of hard to see that face. It's again why I don't like having materials on all the time. That looks good though. We need to match this height-wise with our glass. So we just need to come up a little bit more. So let's change our Z height to 210. That's good. Now we need to change the X. And let's change that X to 5. Good and flat. So looking at that, whenever I put it up here next to the glass, I want to get it as close as I can to that glass, and either going all the way through it, which I think is going to be our best bet. See, we're going to have some problems with our material and where it meets up with other stuff. Might look good in every other location, but it's going to be problematic. And if you're trying to go for a final product, then this probably wouldn't be the way you're doing it anyway. But it's going to give us what we need and get the basic idea of creating some symmetry to create other portions. So I'm going to Control C and Control V, and I'm going to look at my position, -120 and 0. So now if I move it this way, I know that I could just go to 120, and that should put me in the right location. Because I started at 0 for the center of my object, now making these two where I need them to be isn't going to be that big of a deal. So now I can grab these two. If I do Control C and Control V now, I can rotate them 90 degrees. Then I know that I need to be 0 this way. So if I break them down individually, we know that this should be 0 and 120. And this should be 0 and -120. Why did I bother putting that in there? Because now we have an area here that we can chop out. So if we come in here and let's grab, and honestly I don't think it matters which one we use on this point. I'm going to use glass for the material. I'm going to select this. Going to have to change its dimensions quite a few times. But I'm going to change that to subtractive. You see what's happening is it's chopping it out. And we're chopping out the doorway for it. So essentially what you want to do is you want to get it to where it's going to chop out the opening left and right. And top and bottom, naturally. Now you want to be able to walk smoothly into your elevator, so you're going to cut into your ring there as well. I'm going to move it up so I can split the difference. And these, I made the Z height 250. So I'm going to do the same thing here. Z height of 250. Actually, let's make it 240. A little bit smaller. Nope, still. Yo, what's up? So that's good enough. Was trying to be really prolific with this. It's been a hell of a lot more time, and I actually wouldn't be doing it here, but that's going to be good enough. Now, if I wanted to create the actual door itself later on, what I can do is come back in and create another static mesh, and I would end up wanting to do this in 2 pieces normally. You could do it as one, and then set up a timeline to create functionality of creating the door and having it rotate around a set pivot point. So, not mattering a hell of a lot of what else we've got here. If I come over here and play from here, we're in our elevator. Isn't that lovely? And no, we don't have a damn elevator console with all the buttons and stuff like that on there. That's something you could add in separately if you want to, or you could just throw something in there now. Just want to get the basics covered of it so that we actually have the actual elevator. So I am going to make sure that I have a mesh folder right there, and I'm going to grab all of these items here, and once I have them together, look where the pivot point is. It just happens to be in the center, and that's going to be good enough for me for right now. So with that being in the center, I'm going to go ahead now and I actually have to do a different way. Go to brush settings, create static mesh, select the mesh folder, and we're going to call this SM underscore elevator. Good enough. And create mesh. And it's going to create a static mesh here. And I'm going to go ahead and delete the one in the map. Now I'm going to open up this elevator. And it's not perfect. It's got its problems. But don't we all? First thing I'm going to do is come down here to light map resolution. Change that to 64. Then I'm going to open up this right here. Once you've entered this 64, hit tab 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to bring you down to the light map coordinate index. Change that to 1. And here's the problem, is we're not going to have any collisions on this. And if you just do a generic collision on here, I'm going to go ahead and save it now. If you look at simple collisions, there is none. And you know, if you just try to use any of these collisions here, then you're not going to have a collision. So this again is where you would really want to export and create this so you have a correct collision to go along with it. Another possibility of things you can do is, we know that the outside, or do we? Well, now we can hit Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, and Control Z, Control Z, and there we go. We have our original back if we want to edit on it, but we still have this guy. So we'll resave that. And the problem with that is we are not going to have a collision. The appropriate thing to do is, and I'm going to go ahead and just shove this into old elevator, and I'm going to put all of you in there, and I'm going to get you the hell out of my view because I don't need to see you. So best situation is you create it in Blender and make your models that way, or whatever program you choose to use. But since there is no collision here, if I were to try and add in box simplified collision, well, that just puts a big old box around the damn thing, and you're not going to be able to use it. You're not going to be able to go into it. So, collision, I'm going to delete selected collision, auto convex collision. It's not showing anything. So in the essence of time, and just for the fact that this is a temporary object and not a polished, finished item, go to cheat and do that. I don't recommend doing it, but for what we're doing, we just wanted to have the elevator itself. Now, you notice that it's going to start here underground. Not much we can do about that right now. Not much I'm going to do about that right now. So let's put it in there, put it in the map, and there, we can walk into it. It is a tangible, usable item. Although, we don't want to use it that way. And it's rotated 45 degrees from where you want to just walk straight into it. So let's actually create a new folder, and we're going to call this Gadgets. And we are going to make new blueprint, actor, glass, elevator. I'm going to open it up, and there we have a blueprint. Now I'm going to go back in here, go to my mesh, select the mesh, come back to my blueprint, add component, static mesh. There it is. But I'm going to go ahead and raise it up to here. Compile and save. I said compile. Damn you. So now I'm going to my gadget folder, and I can throw the blueprint into the map. When I do this, I know that when I first snap it down, it's facing away from me by 45 degrees. So I'm going to rotate that. So if I look at it, I know where my door is, and I want to rotate it. .45. Now if I compile and save, go back in here and look, my elevator is facing the direction that I want it to be. Yay. And there was much rejoicing, but it's still not an elevator. It doesn't go up and down. Why don't it go up and down? Because we haven't told it what to do yet. You, go up and down, you son of a bitch. No, that didn't work. Alright, so how can we make this go up and down? We spent all this time, we spent 30 minutes just trying to create a cheesy looking crappy elevator. So let's add in a, can we use a capsule collision? No, I'm trying to move you the fuck up. Would you cooperate, you sack of shit? You know, I don't like you. You suck a lot. So instead of using the capsule, I'm just going to use a sphere collision, because all we need to do is, you know, interact with it. We need to be able to walk into it. And that should be enough. So, to know that we are in the elevator, and we're tripping the elevator, let's just go ahead and, on event begin play, just clear off all this crap. And right click here, add event, on component begin overlap. We're not worried about end overlap, whatever. So let's go ahead and learn how to spell, which is difficult for me tonight. Alright, so when our player transacts into it, they enter, they're going to collide with it. We're just going to play sound at location, and the sound that we want to use is click to. We just want to hear something that to know that we're in it. So I don't know if you guys can hear it or not, but I can hear it. That's all that friggin' matters is I hear it, right? I hear shit all the time though. So we know that it's working. We can interact with it. So get rid of you. So I'm going to start off with, we know that right now it's sitting here. We have a location. So let's start location, and let's make this a transform. So we now have our start location, but here, let's go ahead and get our event begin play. So when we start off, let's get a reference to this. Actually, no, we want to get world location of the well, let's just use it for the elevator itself. And then from there we are getting our location, and we need to set this location. You're not there. You're orange and you're not. Okay. You're a vector, and I'm going to make you a vector. Come on, hurry up. Shut up. Shut up. Yes, yes, I know. I'm old and crap, but alright, so we're going to set our start location, and that's all we really needed was our transform, and all we really need is X, Y, and Z, which is all of that. So now we got it. When we begin play, bam, we set our start location. So let's compile and save. And is that going to be good enough for right now? Yeah, we could walk in and out of it. That's good. So when we step into it, let's put a little delay in here. And with that delay, we're just going to make it 1 second. We just want it to pause for a second and then start performing an action. So then, how high do we want it to go? Well, we could just say, okay, you're going to go up this amount, but we're going to do it a little bit differently here. We're going to end location. Since we already had that set as a vector, it's going to be a vector anyway. So how do we get our end location? So we've got our start location. Next thing I want to do is I want to click on that little eyeball right there, because now once we put it into our map, compile and save, and we select our elevator, now we can select our end location and change the Z height right there. So that's cool. Now it's not going to do anything just yet, but let's go ahead and when we do this, we now want this to how can we make this to work? Alright, pull on you guys. What do you think would be the best method for getting this elevator to go up? There's a bunch of different ways of doing this. You could use timelines, you can use a matinee actor. There's a bunch of different ways you can make this work. There's simple ways, there's more complex ways. It's not an AI, so you can't really use AI move to, but what about a move to location or actor? AI controller reference, we don't really have one. Goal location needs to be the end location. But to get our end location, we need a better way of selecting that so that we can set our Z height. So instead of actually having our end location this way, let's get our end location, and we scroll down, we can break vector, and we're only wanting the Z, and that just happens to be a float. Let's promote that to a variable, and we're going to call this our elevation, or no, let's call this our lift amount. So we want to set that to be our actual of how much we want it to lift. So we want to take this, and let's get our, we're going to set our end location to what? We want this plus this equals that. So we want to make a vector, and let's move it over a little bit. We'll do, what the hell are you? That's a float, that's a float, that's a float. And whenever I hit plus, there you go, shit. Plus that equals that. But what we're going to have, might have a problem with this. That's 0 and 0. I'm not going to have a problem right now because it is at 0 and 0. But if I put that somewhere else in my map, this is what we're going to have here. So probably going to have to actually get reference to that start location, and then come back down here and break the start location and plug our X and our Y into there. Yes, 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 yes. You suck. Get AI controller. We're not actually setting one or changing one. We're going to use a default one. Is that going to be happy enough for you? Is that going to make you happy? Thank you. Yeah. Not sure how this is going to work. So we want this to go from its start location to the end location. It just, essentially we want it to go up. And lift amount here, we haven't assigned a value to that one, so we're going to put a blank value in here for now, 500, and let's see what happens. I'm sure this is probably not going to be that easy for it to work. because it is inside the floor, it may have some collision issues. It couldn't be that simple. No, work, you shithead. I didn't think this way was going to work, but, you know, it was worth a shot. So the simple method is not going to work. It's above ground. There's no interference with the ground now. So what we're trying to do with that way was to try to make it move and controlled actor. We didn't plug anything into the controlled actor because we need this to be it. Nothing was being told to move. Alright, so that was a fail. So we'll click on our glass elevator. Our lift amount is right here. We can change that value. But, not going to be what we want. We're getting our data here and setting our data there in the location where we're trying to get to. And it was, you know, one of those things where it was worth a shot. The instance of a blueprint. I was trying to go the easy way. A matinee actor will be a good way of doing this. So what else can we try? If you just type in move to, you got AI move to. Let's try a simple move to location. And in that situation there, would this work? Controller object reference. Well, we don't have one. Obviously a mess. Let's try alternate methods for creating an elevator. Let's see here. Because it is not an actor, well, it is an actor. It is not a character. It doesn't have direct input from anything as being an actual character movement, essentially. We might be able to figure out something. I'm just trying alternative methods. I've done the other methods, like opening up and closing doors. We're essentially using a timeline. I've done using a matinee actor, and those are probably the best ways to do it. But was just trying some alternate methods for creating a simple system for an elevator. And it usually takes longer to try to make up another way than it would have done just to do it one of the other ways. It's spline component and having it move from point A to point B, and you set your spline actor. Yeah, that probably would be a good way to go. But then again, this is not an actor. This is an actor. It is not actually a. It doesn't have a movement component to it. Rendering physics. Interpret to move root component between a series of points over a given time. Motion controller. Interpret to floating pawn movement. It's not a pawn, so we've got that. Again, I've never tried this before, so trying new things, you know, that's just one of those things where if you're not stretching your mind and trying to figure out new things, to me, half of the fun of Unreal Engine 4 is not actually making a game, it's actually the puzzle of trying to work through problems. So that's exactly what I'm doing right here, is working through an unknown, trying to see if I can figure it out, and hopefully getting you guys to come along for the ride and suggesting things of trying new things. Max simulation time. That's for step time. Force sub-step. Not dubstep, but sub-step. Duration, 1 second. Control points. Alright. The position of the point. So, point is relative. You now have an XYZ. So, one element. You got two members in that element. Essentially, you have an XYZ. So, why can't we... Well, we did this. We didn't try that one yet. Again, I'm pretty sure it's not going to work, but... Yeah, okay. We've got this now. We can get a reference to it. And if we look at it, there was a control point 1, and let's add a second one here. So now we have 2 different control points. Again, I have never used this shit before, so I don't know. Pause on impact, behavior type, one shot reverse, ping pong. Okay, well, we'll start it off with one shot and see what happens. So this control point. So what happens now if we drag up from here? Control. Let's see. Restart movement. Get duration. Set duration. Initialize the control points array. Call after adding control points if they're added after begin play. Set control points. But from that, though, we have to be able to make those. Enter control points. Something to look into on that. For right now, what I'm going to do is go into my control points. Set the first one is our current, which is, let's zero it out, and 70 for the Z. So 0, 0, 0, let's change that to 70, and our second control point is going to be the same, and let's make this 570. Alright, so interpret to movement. How do we initiate that movement? We've set a control points, and there it goes, but we want to initiate that instead of it just going on its own. So we see that that's a one shot. one shot reverse, loop reset, ping pong. Screw it, let's just take a look at it. Damn elevator, come back here, you son of a bitch. Let me on you. Damn it, get back here. So, okay. So that gets us our movement going up and down. But we want to control that movement. We don't want it just going ape shit the whole time. So we'll figure this stuff out here at some point as well. See if we can get that to apply and allow us to set those control points. But let's go ahead and grab this. We want control of you. Auto activate. There we go. Uncheck that for right now. Let's see what happens. There, it does not work. It's not moving. So let's try activate. So now it gives us a chance to get on the damn thing. And since it's slightly elevated here, let's just go ahead and put some stars in. That's good enough. So we need to be able to get in there. Nope, not enough. Because when we hit play, it's now higher. Why is it higher? $70 and $570. It's 70. But as soon as we hit play, it's jacked up in the air. Alright, whatever. I'll just add a couple more stairs. Is that good enough? There we go. Now we've got it to set in ping pong mode. So let's turn that ping pong mode back off. And let's go to one shot. So now we come over here, walk into our elevator, we initiate it, it goes up, and now we can exit. But we have no way of making it go back down again because we didn't set up a keybind to it or anything else. Yeah, we have no way of getting it back here. So how can we get it to? Okay, we have reset. Well, the activation should be forced, even if should activate returns false. It's helpful to read these damn tips here. So we know that we go in here and we walk over to our elevator and we get in and it goes up. That's perfect. That's great. But we would be on a different floor now and we're doing something different. But it's a one-shot elevator. We don't want it to be one-shot. So one-shot reverse, loop reset. That's just going to go up and then right back down again. We want to actually have some kind of control of it. And it's just going to loop back from the start again. So, not what we want. Loop reset, ping pong, one shot reverse. I have no idea. So let's check it out. This is one of these times where you screw around with something and it works. Okay, it goes up and then comes back down again. all these things can be useful for all kind of cool shit. But we want this to reset. Okay, well, it's dead now. So it's a one shot and done. When we go on board, it activates it and takes us to our location. So for right now, I'll move you out of the way. We're going to grab our sphere and end overlap. And you know what? Fuck you, get up there. Alright, so when we end overlapping, we want to reset this. What can we do with this? Reset. Now, because this is one shot reverse, this is pause on impact. Reset back to start when reaching the end. That's good. It moves to where we want it to go, but we want it to reset when the player is no longer there, or be able to reverse. What else do we have to work with on this? Under control, we have finalize control points, restart movement, reset to start. Well, let's try that. So let's grab that and restart movement. Probably not what we want. Yes. I know. Other actor cast to our player needs to be there. So we go in here, a second later, it goes up. When we leave, it reset and restarted. So that's not what we want. So let's look back in here. Control again. You got finalize control points. Well, let's try control. Finalize. I mean, restart movement. Well, screw it. For right now, let's deactivate. But then when we walk into it, it activates again. So we're going to need to put a platform up top so that we can walk out of it and walk back into it. Because I don't know if that's going to be enough there to step back in and reactivate it and go back down. Let's see what else. This is kind of interesting to screw around with. Loop reset. Now, with ping pong, what it's doing is going up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. We have a duration of 1 second. So if we did a delay here of 1 second, which is our actual activation time, and I'm going to delete you guys for right now, and deactivate. That should turn it off whenever we get to the 1 second point. We go in here, we wait a second, we go up, it should turn off. And then as soon as we leave that, we want it to reactivate. So I'm going to go ahead and put a platform in, and I'm just going to make it small, make it 10. This over here. And we're at what, 570. So it goes up, and we need to make it a little higher. Box rush. And roughly about there. So there, we walk into our elevator, it automatically activates, we walk in, we step out, and no problem. So now when we walk into it again, we want it to reactivate. And continue moving. So is that possible? So what we've done here is when the player walks in, 1 second later, and let's reduce that down to 0.5, it activates our movement for 1 second and then deactivates. So let's, on end overlap, fuck you, get over here. We want it to be based off of the actor of our player character. We don't want just anything walking in there and using it. Although we could, you know, if you want bots to be able to walk in there, instead of doing cast2player_base or what your player character is, you can just type in cast2character. So I'm just going to grab these two. So in theory, it's going to reactivate it when we leave, because we've told it to deactivate when we got to that point. So let's see if we can reactivate it. Comes up. Let's walk out. And then it should have automatically reactivated. Why did you not do that? And what did it do? It kind of like blinked. I don't know, maybe this is just in the way a little bit. There's a little bit of something going on there. Collision issue or something. So we want to be able to get out, walk around, go do our combat or whatever else, our spooky house or whatnot. Why didn't you reactivate? We have you set to ping pong. Yeah. We have our elements there. Pause and then deactivate. And here we're telling it to activate. Makes no sense. Because we have auto activate is turned off. And yeah, that should be fine. Because it works here, it's when we started off here, this works. We can activate it. So why is a deactivation here breaking it? If we break that deactivate after that, it's just going to go up and down and up and down and up and down. It's not going to stop. And getting out does nothing. Just for shits and grins, let's connect this back in here, and I'm going to change the duration to 3 seconds, and we're going to go to our interpret to movement, and we're going to change our duration to 3. Compile, save, get in, moves a little bit slower, get out. And when we get out, we want it to reactivate and continue going through its movement. Or if we get back in it, we want it to reactivate, and it's just not doing that. But if nothing else, we know that we've got a one-shot elevator to get us from point A to point B. Because technically speaking, though, if we took this and put this back into one-shot mode, then it's going to work without all this in it, and you won't need this because it's just going to work. You walk over, get in, it's going to fire one time, it's going to go up, it's going to stop, and it's done. We get out, we want it to actually reset from there. So let's actually delete that, and we don't want to activate at that point. We want it to reset. And reset won't do it. Getting our control points, duration, I guess we could. Well, we're not able to use this right here. I mean, we can go in here and control set duration. I'm actually going to break that one from there, go to here, and on event begin play, let's break all this stuff right here. Do this, and let's create. Let's just, let's go ahead and create a new one. Let's lift duration and expose that one. Let's change that to a flute. Plug that in here. Let's compile, save, and default that to 3 seconds. So on event begin play, we're going to set our duration to 3. But now if we click on our elevator, we can set our lift duration to 10. Then we can come in here, hit play, walk in. Well, that wasn't quite 10 seconds, but yeah, half the shit that I'm telling it to do here. Duration, set it back to 1. But our lift duration here is 3. We click on it here, it's set to 10. So there's it at 1. So I guess what we're going to have to do is yeah, well, that shit just doesn't work. So ignore that shit. If first you don't succeed, give up, just like you should do, right? So we're going to change that back, and I like that at 3 seconds. And yeah, we're going to leave it at this for right now. You guys can experiment with it, see what you can come up with, see how you can use this same basic system in your map. Just use it as an elevator system to get me from point A to point B and continue on with the map. However, if you want to do something like let's do quick, and we're over the 1 hour mark, so create an actor, whatever, go in here, let's add a component, sphere, let's add a component, and that component that we were just messing with was interp to movement. Be something really to play around with, because I think it's kind of cool. It has a lot of potential. So interpret to movement. Let's get on our control. We have control points. Let's add 2. And let's figure out a location to put it in. Let's go with 0 and 750 and 100. This will be my start location. 0, 750 and 100. And my second control point will be, now I'm assuming you could actually make this in any XYZ you want as well, but I'm just going to go up and down. So 750 and 1000, and I want to take 3 seconds to go there. Compile, save, and we need to change that to ping pong. So if you want something that's just a steady back and forth movement in your maps, that's just always going to be cycling up and down, left and right, whatever else. Let's just, for whatever, we've added that in. Let's add another component of a cube, whatever. Let's put it right there so that we can see that there's something else on here. And screw it, why not? Let's add a rotating movement. Alrighty. Not exactly what I was trying to do with it, but yeah, let's throw that out of there. But with that control points, you could actually change that to, you know, you got your elevation, you got whatever you want for your coordinates. So you could set it up to do whatever you want to do. Let's put this back at 100, and I'm going to change this to a negative 750. So it's actually going to go left and right. So it actually has interrupted by hitting that. So let's move that out of the way. there you go. Play with it how you want. Change the elevation. That's another alternate method of adding some movement to your maps. And it appears that this actually will hit the player. So if the item that you add in here actually has physics as well, yeah. Something cool to play around with. Something new. You know, this was just something simple. Alright, we're going to delete you. Force delete. Get out of here. You're gone. Alright. Hopefully, you can find a use for this crap in your map. So if you want to make a one-shot elevator, and there you go. Takes you to wherever you want. And, you know, this is where I've set the elevation to it. Lift duration isn't working at the moment, but you can add that functionality to it as well. You take your interrupted movement, and if you want to go even higher, you set whatever you want for your elevation. You can control the input and location of everything where you want it to go, and the speed and so forth. Gotta fall out. I have never used that one before, so I said, you know what, screw it. Let's see what we can come up with and go from there. And I'm going to put that back to my 570 where it was before. And I want to look at one other thing here. Our control points. We've got it set to one shot. You know, it would be nice if we could do ping pong or loop reset or something, so whenever it gets to the top, we could set a delay and have it go back after the end of it. So, I don't know about the forcing sub-stepping, simulation time. Update if rendering. Lovely. We have auto activate turned off, which is what we wanted, because we wanted to activate it based on the player stepping onto it. We don't want it to just continuously go. I'd be okay with it constantly moving if there was a way for easily setting it up to where when it reached the top, it stopped for 5 seconds and then went and continued with its ping pong behavior. So let's do this. Yeah, pause on impact. Well, it has a behavior tree. Interesting. Constrained to plane. So this is all new to me. Discrete simulation. Got it set to 3. I don't know what half this shit does. So, like I said, something to experiment with later. Get it to go to its extent, and then pause when it gets to the top, and then continue moving. God damn, I hate that shit. Just want to step off. I don't want to jump 4 miles. Just want to do that. So this actually would be pretty cool if you're trying to set up a side scroller and you need a platform that continuously moves. This would be a really simple way of doing that. Oh shit, that fell off. but it just, you know, behavior, get behavior type, get pause on impact, set pause on impact. Can set behavior type, one shot, and there's all your behaviors right there. Let's try, screw it. Let's, alright. All this shit gotta go. You're pissing me off. So, shits and grins here. It's gonna throw you back here. I'm just gonna use the 1. We're going to set you by default to 1 shot. And screw it. Just want to test it out, just to get it to do something. It's set to 1 shot right now, so it should, as soon as I walk in, it should automatically go up. And we're done. It's over with. Now when I get back out of it, I exit. You're supposed to do something. You're being told to do something. Why aren't you doing it? Why must you annoy me? Current value is 1 shot, but now I'm telling it whenever I end overlap, whenever I'm no longer in the elevator, you are to perform this action. Oh, because I'm mentally challenged here. Who, whatever, what leaves the damn thing? Stupid ass. Damn, Mr. Draco, I blame you. You let me do it. Alright, so now whenever the player exits, we want to return to a ping pong mode just so we can see something happening. We're there, walk out. You are to perform an action now. Why aren't you performing an action? Why aren't you doing that? Ugh. You are activated. You're working. Now at this point, you should change your behavior. Let's, just to make sure it's not an issue of timing, delay 0.5. Let's give it that half-second delay. See if that will rectify it. I don't know why, but sometimes, you know, there's timing issues and you have to put delays in. Whenever I leave here, you're supposed to now do something. Why are you doing nothing? Okay, so do I need to tell you to activate also? I shouldn't need to tell you to activate. You should already be activated because you were told to activate whenever I stepped on you. You go up, you stop, and get out, and you should now be moving. Why? Because Unreal Engine 4. Okay, so that didn't work, but you know what? Screw it. We have obtained something. We have learned something new. We have tried a new method. We've created an elevator that works. and we're using interp to movement, and we're setting our points here. Like I said, the one thing that I would do later is to actually come up with a method of, on begin play, getting my start location and set control points, using all this to make array or whatever to do all this. And start location will go here. Position is relative, okay, whatever. Doing all this so we can get our control point. That's array 0. Add a pin to it, and now we have 1. So let's do on event begin play. We want to start off by setting control points for this one and this. Interpret control point and in location. But what we want to do is have this information, the start location, and we'll come back to that later. Lift amount we don't need at this point. Start location, in location, these are now what we're using to set our control points. However, where are we getting them? So get world location, or get actor location, not set. Screw you. Why are you not cooperating? Get world location of the elevator. And I'm going to move your ass to right here. Move this crapola down because I need to be able to set my start location. I need to set that variable to where on a begin play it gets the location of the blueprint, and it then sets start location to this, and then that location then gets piped into here. This should work either way. You could also just put this directly into here for our start location, but again, this should still work. In fact, I'll just go ahead and do that. So I'm going to take that location and make that my start location is now array 0 for my control points. And you know me, I gotta make this thing somewhat neat. Somewhat. Yeah. So that's going to set on begin play. We got our start location. Our end location we need to get in the same fashion of what I deleted down here. We need to, actually I'm going to, no, I can leave that. Get my end location is my start location need to break that vector and I need to ignore that. Not ignore it, but let's do this and make vector. And I'm going to have to move this shit around probably 100 damn times. Just so I can get it right. Alright, so what I'm doing here is lift amount, which is that. Lift amount is going to be our Z, which we're going to do float plus float. And we're going to take our start location and we're going to move that pin across here, that pin across here, and now we're going to add our lift amount to our Z amount and connect that into here. And our default lift amount is 500. All right. So that should set our array 0 and allow us to have that information there and that information there. And this crap's not working yet, so we'll worry about that at some other point. So I'm going to end this video and make something to eat. So what we got, event begin play. We're going to get a reference to our elevator. We're going to make that our actor location and our start location. So we get our world location, set it to start location, and plug that into here. We're going to get that information, which is here, and plug it in here and here. So the top one, we're making our interpret control point index 0 and setting our control point to there. And for our bottom one, we're setting our end point. And we're getting our end point by calculating our start location plus the lift amount in Z to set that and put it in there. This is either going to work just like it did before and be much more complicated, or be broken as fuck. Yep, broken as fuck. You know, I just couldn't leave it alone. I had to fuck it up. Alright, so let's change that from the elevator to the sphere. And if it's totally screwed to that point, I'll just set it back to where I was before and say the hell with it and go on back. Yep, I killed it. Alright, so we can just break that and it should go back to working as intended. Huh. Just like I never broke it. Alright, so I'll experiment more with it. If you guys want to know more about it, let me know. If not, then screw it. We'll come back and next week we'll do something else. Alright. That was our simple elevator. Again, there's so many different ways you can use that same system. The interp to movement and setting up arrays. Now, I just used 2. I went from point A to point B. But what's to say that you can't add additional control points in and have it go from point A, point B, and then, you know, add a third member in here, which would be 0, 1, and 2, and 2 could be the same as 0, so it'll go up and then back down again on its one shot. But then we'd need to reset it and everything else. But that would also work really well, again, for if you're trying to add something in a side scroller and you want an object like a door or a platform or something to be constantly moving back and forth, you can set it up like that and use the ping pong method. Alright guys, I'm getting out of here. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you around.